Hello everyone, welcome to my channel, Bachelor Nation News fans. What if I told you that one of the most unexpected romances to ever blossom under the tropical sun of Bachelor in Paradise nearly didn't happen at all? That a single rose, offered with trembling hands, carried not just drama, but also a hidden promise that would change two people's lives forever. Today, we're diving deep into Jeremy and Bailey's unforgettable love story. A journey filled with tears, laughter, whispers of doubt, and breathtaking surprises that even the cameras couldn't fully capture. So settle in, grab your cup of coffee or maybe even a glass of wine, because what you're about to hear might just restore your faith in love, no matter your age, no matter your past. When Jeremy first walked onto that golden stretch of sand, there was a weight behind his smile. He wasn't just another contestant hoping for paradise. He was a man carrying the scars of heartbreak. Divorced in his late 30s, Jeremy had convinced himself that maybe love was a chapter already written and closed. And yet, as he descended those wooden steps to the beach, he whispered quietly to himself, "Maybe, just maybe, this is where my story begins again." The other contestants saw confidence, the audience saw charm, but inside, Jeremy was trembling. And what he didn't know was that his arrival would set into motion a love story no one could have predicted. Because just steps away, Bailey was about to enter paradise with her own secrets. Bailey arrived on the beach with a radiant smile, but behind it was something even stronger: resilience. She had spent years building her career, often putting love second, always telling herself she'd get to it someday. But now, at 33, with the waves crashing around her, she wondered if she had waited too long. And then, she saw Jeremy. There was no dramatic music in real life, no spotlight, just one glance. One heartbeat, one subtle shift in the air. She later confessed in an interview, "I knew right then. I didn't want anyone else's hand in mine." But would Jeremy feel the same way? Or would his past keep him from recognizing the gift standing right before him? Because, of course, nothing in paradise comes easy, not even the roses. The first rose ceremony is always a battlefield. Roses aren't just flowers, they're lifelines. Jeremy stood there, holding his rose, and viewers across the country leaned forward. Would he follow the safe choice, the woman everyone thought he was vibing with? Or would he risk it all for Bailey, the quiet spark he hadn't stopped thinking about? As the music swelled, Jeremy's voice cracked just slightly when he spoke Bailey's name. The cameras caught Bailey's eyes widen, tears already forming. She whispered, "Yes," before he even finished. What seemed like a simple moment, one rose among many, was in truth a leap of faith, and it set the stage for everything that came next. But faith, as we know, is always tested. Paradise doesn't let you rest, not for long. Jeremy and Bailey were quickly thrown into their first challenge, a beach obstacle course designed to test teamwork. It was silly, yes, with coconuts and water balloons, but hidden inside that playfulness was something bigger. Would Jeremy trust Bailey to lead? Would Bailey lean on Jeremy's strength? The answer, shown in laughter, in shared glances, in mud on their clothes and salt water in their hair, was yes. The crowd watching on the beach knew it too. Something rare was unfolding. But paradise is paradise. Just when a couple starts to bloom, a storm is never far behind. The next morning, a new contestant arrived, tall, charming, and with his sights on Bailey. His name was Lucas, and he wasted no time asking Bailey on a date. Jeremy's jaw tightened. For the first time, he felt the sting of jealousy. He had promised himself he wouldn't let insecurities ruin this chance. But when Bailey agreed to the date, Jeremy's heart sank. She deserves to explore her options, he told the cameras, but inside, his chest felt hollow. The date was beautiful, filled with laughter, cocktails, and candlelight, But Bailey couldn't ignore the way her heart kept drifting back to Jeremy. She smiled at Lucas, but she knew deep down, Paradise had already given her someone who mattered. The only question was, did Jeremy still believe she chose him? When Bailey returned from her date with Lucas, Jeremy pulled her aside. The beach quieted, eyes watching from the shadows. "I need to know," he said, his voice steady but heavy. "Am I wasting my time?" Bailey's response wasn't just words, it was a hand reaching across the space between them, resting gently on his. "Jeremy," she whispered, "it's you. It's only you." In that moment, Paradise didn't feel like a TV set. It felt like a love story unfolding in real time. The sigh of relief from Jeremy was almost audible, even to those watching at home. But Paradise still had more twists waiting. Later in the season, the couples were surprised with visits from family members. For Jeremy, this was the real test. His younger sister, who had seen him broken-hearted too many times, was fiercely protective. Bailey knew this was her moment to prove she wasn't just another reality TV fling. The meeting began tense, her arms crossed, questions sharp. But then Bailey spoke with honesty about her own past heartbreaks, about her dreams, about why Jeremy mattered to her. Slowly, the walls came down. By the end of the night, Jeremy's sister hugged Bailey tightly, whispering, "Don't hurt him." Jeremy's eyes filled with tears. For the first time, he allowed himself to believe this wasn't just a summer romance. This was real. But real love always faces its hardest test, right before the finish line. The finale loomed. Jeremy held the final rose in his hand, the same way he had at the very beginning. But this time, it wasn't about survival. It was about forever. Bailey stood across from him, her dress swaying in the ocean breeze, tears slipping down her cheeks. She had once feared she had waited too long for love. Now she wondered if love had been waiting for her. Jeremy's speech was halting, his voice breaking. "I thought I was done. I thought my heart had nothing left to give, and then you showed me I was wrong. Bailey, will you take this rose, not just for today, but for every day after this one?" Bailey's answer came without hesitation. Yes. 1,000 times yes. The cameras caught the kiss, the cheers, the fireworks in the sky. But what they couldn't capture was the quiet promise they whispered to each other later that night. That Paradise wasn't a place. Paradise was the two of them, together. Jeremy and Bailey's story isn't just about a TV romance. It's about second chances, about daring to hope again when the world tells you not to. It's about the courage to offer your heart, even when it's been broken before. And maybe just about a reminder to all of us that love doesn't follow a timeline. Love finds us when it's ready. So the next time you hear someone say reality TV love isn't real, remember Jeremy and Bailey. Remember the rose, the risks, the tears, the laughter. Remember that sometimes, against all odds, Paradise delivers more than just drama. It delivers love. Thank you for joining me on this journey through one of the most moving love stories to ever come from Bachelor in Paradise. If Jeremy and Bailey's story touched your heart, let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories of roses, drama, and romance. Until next time, remember, love is always closer than you think.
Every once in a while, reality television gifts us a love story that feels less like a show and more like destiny itself. Jeremy and Bailey's journey on Bachelor in Paradise was filled with roses, rivalries, heartbreak, and hope. But what made their story unforgettable was not perfection, but persistence. Today, we're retracing every twist, every shocking turn, and every romantic spark that kept fans glued to their screens. And by the end of this video, you'll see why their love story became one of the most talked about tales in Paradise history. But before we dive in, let me ask you, what would you risk for love? A friendship? Your comfort zone? Or maybe even your heart itself? Jeremy and Bailey had to answer those questions, sometimes in ways that surprised even themselves. When Jeremy first stepped onto the sandy shores of paradise, viewers weren't expecting much from him. He was kind, handsome in a classic way, and carried himself with a quiet confidence. Yet he wasn't the loudest personality. Bailey, on the other hand, arrived with a spark. Her laughter carried across the beach, her energy lit up the room, and it wasn't long before contestants and fans alike started calling her the sunshine of paradise. But here's the twist. Despite their different personalities, the very first glance between them told a different story. When Bailey caught Jeremy's eye across the tiki bar, there was no mistaking it. The kind of chemistry that producers dream about and fans root for. It was right there, simmering in silence. Still, neither of them rushed. And that hesitation, it left everyone asking, would this be a missed opportunity or the start of something extraordinary? Just a few days in, the first date card landed in Jeremy's hands. Viewers gasped, wondering if he'd take the safe choice and invite someone who had already shown interest in him, or if he'd take the bold step of choosing Bailey. Against all odds, he asked Bailey to join him. And that date wasn't just dinner and small talk. Producers gave them one of the most daring setups of the season, a cliffside dinner with crashing waves below, followed by a dance under strings of fairy lights. Their conversations weren't about strategy or screen time. Instead, Jeremy asked Bailey about her childhood, her dreams, and what she truly wanted from love. Bailey, in turn, admitted she'd been hurt before but was ready for something real. Fans could feel it. This wasn't just a paradise fling. This was two souls quietly recognizing something deeper. But here's the kicker. Not everyone on the beach was happy about it. As their bond deepened, a new contestant, Adrian, arrived with his eyes firmly set on Bailey. And unlike Jeremy, Adrian wasn't subtle. He made grand gestures, complimented Bailey openly, and whispered to the cameras that he was ready to fight for her heart. Suddenly, Jeremy was tested. Would he retreat into the shadows and let Bailey make her choice? Or would he step up and fight for the woman he was already falling for? The tension between Jeremy and Adrian was electric. Bailey found herself torn, flattered by Adrian's boldness, but grounded by Jeremy's steadiness. In one of the most suspenseful rose ceremonies of the season, Bailey shocked everyone by handing her rose to Jeremy. The crowd cheered. But paradise isn't kind enough to let love go untested for long. The moment of doubt. With Adrian gone, Jeremy and Bailey seemed stronger than ever. But the honeymoon phase didn't last. Bailey overheard a rumor, one suggesting Jeremy wasn't as committed as he appeared. The gossip spread quickly, shaking her confidence and planting seeds of doubt. Viewers held their breath as Bailey confronted Jeremy. Instead of defensiveness, Jeremy responded with vulnerability. He admitted that opening up on national television terrified him, that he feared not being enough, but insisted that Bailey was the reason he wanted to try. That moment of honesty could have broken them apart, but instead it drew them closer. Bailey chose trust over fear, and in doing so, she showed America what love looks like when it's tested by whispers and shadows. Still, there was more drama waiting just around the corner. Family visits and heartfelt confessions. Midway through Paradise, the producers introduced a twist. Family members were flown in for short visits. For Bailey, that meant her sister, who wasted no time grilling Jeremy. Was he serious? Was he ready for commitment? Could he truly handle Bailey's bright, adventurous spirit? Jeremy didn't flinch. In one of the season's most touching moments, he looked Bailey's sister in the eye and said, "I can't promise that life will be easy, but I can promise I'll never stop choosing Bailey." That sentence alone sent shockwaves across social media. Fans declared it the most genuine line in Paradise history. Bailey's sister softened, and in the end, she gave Jeremy her blessing. But if you think that was the happily ever after moment, think again. The heartbreak episode. Just when Jeremy and Bailey seemed unstoppable, tragedy struck. Bailey's ex-boyfriend, a figure she'd spoken of only vaguely, suddenly appeared in Paradise for a surprise twist. The producers called it a reckoning, but for Jeremy, it was a nightmare. The ex pleaded with Bailey, reminding her of their past and arguing that she wasn't ready for a new relationship. Cameras captured Jeremy's pained face as he watched Bailey wrestle with her emotions. Fans feared the worst, that Bailey might slip back into old habits, leaving Jeremy heartbroken. But after a tearful conversation on the beach, Bailey chose courage over comfort. She told her ex, "The past is the past. Jeremy is my future." Jeremy embraced her, but the scars of that moment lingered. Could their love truly withstand the shadows of the past? As Paradise drew to a close, Jeremy knew he couldn't leave Bailey with just words. He planned a grand gesture, one that would prove his love beyond doubt. On the final night, he recreated their very first date, complete with fairy lights, music, and a cliffside dinner. Then, in front of the cameras and castmates, Jeremy opened his heart. "Bailey, love isn't about avoiding storms. It's about holding on to each other until the sky's clear. You are my light, my hope, and my home." The audience held its breath. And Bailey, she whispered the words everyone was waiting for. Yes, 1,000 times yes. The two left Paradise hand in hand, not with a perfect fairy tale, but with something far more real, a love forged through trials, tears, and triumphs. Jeremy and Bailey's love story wasn't about flawless romance. It was about resilience, honesty, and the courage to keep choosing each other when the odds stacked against them. Their journey reminds us that love, at any age and in any season of life, is never about perfection. It's about persistence, about faith, about saying, "I'll stay," even when it's easier to walk away. But here's the lingering question. In the world beyond the cameras, when the lights dim and the sand settles, can Jeremy and Bailey's love survive the real tests of life? Only time will tell. And that story, my friends, might just surprise us all.